Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Double A Team podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Negishi, and I am very, very excited to have tonight's guest. Been following this man's work for quite some time, for the last couple of years, on Twitter and now X. Somebody that I think a lot of NFL fans are already following, and if you're not following him on Twitter, I think you should definitely pay more attention to this man's work as an NFL analyst. He is Ted Nguyen. Is it? I hope I'm pronouncing it correct, Ted. So forgive me. Is it Nguyen?
You can say win.
Okay, Ted Nguyen from The Athletic. Ted, thank you very much. Good evening from the West Coast, and thank you for joining me on short notice and everything. So.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on. And I don't think it was short notice. It's been
It's been a while, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I've been working. Sorry, been working to have you on for quite a while, but not until recently we started to kind of get the ball rolling, and then I'm very, very excited to have you on as well. And we're going to delve a lot into Ted's background and how he found his role as an NFL analyst and so forth a little bit later. So, Ted, obviously, I am a big Bears fan, and I've been talking about Bears, and I also write on the website as well for almost a year now. And it's been quite an off season, having the debate about the Justin Fields fans versus, Caleb Williams fans. I try to stay as far away from the cesspool that is obviously on X. I'm sure you follow the arguments from far apart, and I wanted to know from your analytical experience and expertise, what really went wrong with Fields? Is it just basically Fields just was not developed properly, or was it a combination of bad offense and just untimely situation with Caleb Williams, being available at number one and everything?
Yeah, I think Fields definitely didn't develop the way that the Bears would hope. But I think when Fields was drafted, it was one of the worst situations a young quarterback could step into. They didn't have an offensive line. They didn't have weapons. Coaching was suspect. And I think they never really committed to building an offense for Justin Fields that really committed to that option. I think Luke Getsy, who was the offensive coordinator in his second year, finally turned to the option offense in week 7, and they took off, and Justin Fields really started to look good. And then to start this year, they tried to go away from it again, and then they struggled. They went back to it, and he started to look good again. So I just don't think that they just really had the offensive structure to really put Fields' strengths on display. And I think he did develop. You saw some improvements towards the end of the year, but I just think it was too slow for them. And in the end, I think they wanted to reset the rookie quarterback contract clock and draft Caleb Williams, who is one of the better quarterback prospects we've seen in a long time. So I think they built a really nice environment for him to thrive in. And I mean, he's going to be the number one pick, and he's going to be hyped. He's a very talented guy, and he's going to have the tools around him to succeed, unlike Justin Fields.
I apologize there. We lost a little bit of the internet connection there for a bit. So I want to kind of reiterate the, Luke Getsy's time with the Chicago Bears. I know you were at one point very, very critical of the offense that he ran. What did you see in Luke Getsy's time with Chicago? And, does Getsy getting the job with the Las Vegas Raiders, the team that I'm sure you follow very, very closely from your location in, outside of San Francisco, and, being still very close enough to follow the Raiders and their off seasons and the organization. Does that some sort of a consensus among the NFL that at least Luke Getsy's offense is a little more, I would say, doable, or at least Getsy's more of a competent coach versus the Fields were saddled with Getsy's bad play calling versus Getsy held Fields more so than anything else?
I think the two were an odd fit. I think Luke Getsy comes from the Mike McCarthy tree. He coached under Matt LaFleur, so he's from that West Coast system. And Justin Fields doesn't really belong in that type of system. He's not a quarterback that's going to thrive on quick game and just straight drop back passing. With a bunch of young quarterbacks that specialize, that are talented as runners, you have to build an offense that gives them that option. And with Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts, they developed in offenses that used a lot of option early on, and they started to move away from the option as they developed as passers. Justin Fields never got that training wheel. He never got that advantage. He did, but like I mentioned, it took him week 7 to really commit to it, and then they try to go away from it this year.
Yeah.
And I just never thought the option package was well designed. So to me, Luke Getsy, it was his odd fit with Justin Fields, and I think it just took too long for him to adjust. And I just don't think he's set out. He's built for that, to call that type of offense, or he has the knowledge of the option offense to be able to make it a big component of what he does.
Right. The hiring of Getsy was somewhat questionable. It only took them probably like less than 3 days to hire him, and because of the mistakes with the hiring of Getsy, and that Matt Eberflus perceived to be on the hot seat this time, they took more time to hire Shane Waldron, the former Seahawks offensive coordinator, who became available when the Seahawks parted ways with Pete Carroll. Do you like the hiring of Shane Waldron, or do you see that as a bit of a, still somewhat of a suspect hire, but also a little more better track record than, say, Getsy and so forth?
Yeah, I like Shane Waldron. I think, from everything I heard about Shane Waldron, he's a great teacher. He knows how to conceptualize the game and organize his ideas in a way that is digestible for players. I think he did some interesting things in Seattle. I know ultimately it didn't work out, but I think it was his first time playing calls, and I think he did a lot of good things, and he could improve on what he does, and hopefully he learns from his mistakes in Seattle. But I think ultimately he provides a good baseline that is much higher than what Luke Getsy provided. And he's going to have Caleb Williams, who I think will be a better passer early on in his career than Justin Fields.
A lot of people don't want to use the term, generational too much. Do you think the term generational is fair to describe Caleb Williams, or that's just overblown in your opinion?
No, I don't think so. I think I hesitate to use the word generational, because to be a generational prospect, you have to check every single box in spades. And I think with Williams, he checks the boxes as far as just arm talent, physical traits, elusiveness, and all those things. But we know he struggled in 2023. Was taking too many sacks and just getting into a mode where he thought he had to make the big play every single play, and it led to a lot of negative plays. So I think I like him a lot as a prospect, but he didn't check the box of just having a super successful final season at USC. So I think he's very worthy of the number 1 pick. But if you don't check all the boxes, then you cannot be called a generational prospect in my eyes.
What are some of the concerns that you still have with regards to Caleb Williams, if at all, at this point?
Yeah, I just think you just want to see more reps of him playing within the structure of the offense, and just being smarter with the ball at times. And like I said, there's a lot of reasons why he got into a mindset of of needing to score every single play and trying to shoot for the big play. But just watching the film, there are enough examples of him playing within the structure of the offense and going through his reads, getting to his backside dig on a full field read, those type of things, where I feel comfortable that he can do it. But I think you just want to see more of it. I mean, there's always a chance that he's just addicted to, trying to get these big plays all the time, and it becomes a negative. But I think there's enough evidence of him being able to play within the structure of the offense where I think he'll be able to calm down and really be more patient when he's in the league.
Mm-hmm. My guest tonight is Ted Nguyen from The Athletic. Follow Ted on Twitter here at FB_film analysis. Ted is kind enough to join us tonight from the West Coast. So, Ted, looking at the Bears roster as of right now, say compared to when Ryan Poles took over versus where they are now as of tonight, what is your honest opinion on the Bears roster and how it was constructed? Let's start with the offense. They spent a lot of their assets this offseason on adding DeAndre Swift and trading for, Keenan Allen. Those are the two massive moves. Give me your, thoughts on signing DeAndre Swift. Was that a massive overpay, or do you think that the Bears, did something right there?
I think it was a little bit of overpay. I think DeAndre Swift is a good back, but I think there are some holes in his game that kind of went on display later on in the season with the Eagles. I think he's had injury issues in the past. I know he stayed relatively healthy with Philadelphia, but I don't think those issues just go away. And I think he has some vision problems. I mean, he's an explosive back to catch the ball out of the backfield. But he's a smaller back that doesn't have great vision at times. And he's not a guy that is going to, be a north and south runner and move the chains for you every time. So to me, he's a back that works better in tandem with another back. And to me, you don't pay those type of backs the type of money Swift got. I don't think it's a massive overpay, but I just think, it was a little bit of an overpay. I don't think it was like, a complete miscalculation on the Bears' part.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, there were a couple of other running backs who were available in the free agency, Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs. Do you think that the Bears should have gone and gotten either one of them, or do you think Swift is a still better option out of the three that were available?
I mean, Josh Jacobs to me is one of the top running backs in the league. I mean, Josh Jacobs and Saquon Barkley are just two tiers higher than Swift probably. I would put those guys in a top tier of running backs in the league. I have a very high opinion of Josh Jacobs, watching him in Vegas. And Barkley, obviously, we know his pedigree. We know what kind of athlete he is and his production as a receiver and a runner. So, I don't fault the Bears for not wanting to pay that type of money. I mean, Jacobs got a much bigger contract than I thought he was going to. And even Barkley got pretty good money too. But yeah, I mean, I think, I don't blame them for not wanting to pay that price tag for those two guys.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move on to the draft questions. The Bears, we know that they're going to pick Caleb Williams first overall. That's obviously settled right now. The question that is everybody debating right now, locally and nationally, is the scenario for the Bears at number 9th overall pick. Certainly staying put with only 4 picks is something that Ryan Poles has indicated that he is very, very comfortable with. Do you buy that argument that, obviously spending 2nd and 4th round pick on Montez Sweat, 2nd round pick last year, and Keenan Allen for a 4th round pick, that kind of counts as the draft class for this year? Or do you still look at the Bears and say, they should probably trade down a few spots and get as many picks as they can?
You know what? I think they're in a position to get one of the big 3 receivers. And to me, Yeah, to me, Rome Odunze, Neighbors, or Marvin, probably not Marvin Harrison Jr. I would suspect he's a top receiver drafted. So I think if you have a chance to grab one of those guys, I think you got to just take that shot right now. I mean, you have such a strong roster right now that I mean, of course they have needs, but I would say getting that top receiver would be worth it. Just keep that pick. But if there's a slight chance all three are gone, if that does happen, then maybe trade down and then try to look for one of those. This is a deep receiver class, so you might be able to get a really good one, bottom of the first round or in the second round as well. But I just think if you have a shot at one of those top three guys, take them. If those guys are off the board by chance, then I would consider trading down.
A lot of people have put Odunze as the realistic option. I know Mel Kiper's latest and probably the last mock draft put Odunze at 9 and gave them an A, which obviously, I can't think of Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze not getting anything lower than an A or A plus at the moment. Is Rome Odunze, do you think it's more of a realistic and a better option than, say, Neighbors at 9, or even maybe trading down and getting Brian Thomas Jr. at, say, in the teens?
I mean, it depends on what you get on that trade, but to me, right, there's just a clear separation between those top three guys with the Odunze in that tier than the second class of wide receivers. I mean, Odunze is just, he's incredible. I mean, I know Neighbors and Marvin Harrison Jr. get a lot of the hype, and Rome does as well too. But I just love watching him play. He's so crafty and he has such strong hands. He would be an incredible ad for any rookie quarterback. So I think if you get Odunze at 9, you jump at the podium.
Mm-hmm. One of the most popular conversations right now amongst the Bears fans and even sports talk radios in Chicago is the possibility of getting Marvin Harrison Jr. I know it seems like a pipe dream, but that's been somewhat of a major conversation right now because we already know Caleb Williams is going to be drafted number 1 overall. And between now and the draft, which takes place 2 weeks from tomorrow, there has to be some sort of a discussion. And I've been kind of debating about this for a while. Obviously, you might have to move up all the way up to 5th, which obviously Los Angeles Chargers hold that pick. And Jim Harbaugh, I can't, possibly think that, he'd be out there helping his, old team by any stretch of the imagination. So I want to know, if you're Ryan Poles, would you be willing to move up to get a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr., or do you feel like that's just a steep of a price to pay?
To me, I would think that is a pretty steep price because I would expect that pick. There's going to be a bidding war for that pick, and to me, I think that'd be a little too expensive. And I do think one of the top 3 receivers will be there at number 9. So I would be patient and get one of those guys. I think the world of Marvin Harrison Jr. He's my top guy too, but I also think Odunze is going to be a star receiver. I think Neighbors is going to be a star receiver, and you'll be able, to get one of those guys just by staying put.
Mm-hmm. I'm just posting something that I've been kind of thinking about, playing the draft machine, and Brad Spielberger, formerly of PFF, as a trade machine as well. So I was thinking 9th overall pick, 2025 second round pick from the Carolina. Obviously, that's been the conversation amongst the fans and the media. And then I was also thinking throwing in their 2024 4th round to Los Angeles. The Chargers obviously get their, send us the 5th overall, their 4th overall, and then the 5th round pick to the Bears, which obviously came close to within maybe 20 points higher for the Chargers. If you were the Los Angeles Chargers, Ted, if I offered this, would you take this deal, or would you be like, no, hang up the phone?
I think the Chargers would take that deal in a heartbeat. I think they would be looking to trade down. I really think they're looking to upgrade their offensive line with their first round pick. And I think they would love to trade down and pick an offensive lineman and get some extra capital. So if they could get a second round pick in that deal, I think they would be very happy to do that.
My guest tonight is Ted Nguyen from The Athletic, NFL analyst, joining me to talk about the Chicago Bears and the NFL draft. Stephen Nagishi joining us tonight as well. Regarding the Bears' other needs, the edge rusher obviously comes to mind. We only have Montez Sweat, and the others are basically Dwayne Walker and a lot of guys who are probably nothing more than a practice squad players, just bodies at this moment. If you are, Ryan Poles, after the 9th pick, you're not picking until the 75th at this point. Would you consider maybe drafting Jared Verse, Latu from UCLA, Dallas Turner out of the 3 if there are available at 9, and then just basically gamble until the 75th pick, and then hopefully that there are some decent receivers still available around that spot?
Yeah, I mean, I think pass rusher ultimately does trump receiver, and it's not like the Bears don't have any receivers. They have a pretty good receiving core already.
Yeah.
So, getting an edge rusher with that 9th pick, and then because I do believe that this edge rush class is a bit top heavy, so you have to guarantee yourself a good pass rush prospect 9th, and you will get a quality prospect, receiver prospect in the 2nd round as well. So, I mean, that does work out for me. I just think this is such a strong draft class as far as the top 3 guys, wide receivers, at the top, that it's hard to it's very tempting to get one of those guys at the top.
Out of the 3 edge rushers that I just mentioned, which seem to fit the Bears defense in your opinion?
I think you might be able to trade down a little bit and still get one of those guys. But I think because they have Sweat already, who is such a strong power rusher, that it'd be nice to complement him with a true pass rush specialist. I think Latu kind of fits that description. Verse, I haven't watched a ton of. I just know Latu is just such a pure pass rush guy. I think he would complement Montez well.
Okay, so you don't have a lot of concerns with his neck injury that kind of put him on a semi-retirement before he transferred over to UCLA from Washington at this moment?
I mean, this is presuming that he's healthy. I will not, I don't have a lot of information on his medical right now, to be honest with you. But just presuming both are healthy.
I see. Any concerns with Dallas Turner's production kind of leveling off with Will Anderson leaving a year ago, or is that kind of a nonsense?
I'll be honest, I haven't watched a lot of these edge guys and done a ton of research on them, so I couldn't give you a real strong take on the edge class.
I understand. The other position, obviously, for Matt Eberflus's defense to work as the 3 technique defensive tackle. So I apologize in advance if you haven't paid much attention to the defense either. Byron Murphy's name has been a very popular figure among the draft class, even though he might be a little bit undersized in terms of heights. They seem to think that he would be a great defensive tackle to be taken. Maybe not at 9th. It might be a little bit higher. Do you like that idea that maybe they would get 3 technique D tackle like Murphy, even though they already have Javon Dexter and Bruce Pickens, and then maybe kind of load up on the middle because you still want to have the pressure coming from all over the place anyway?
Yeah, but I think if you're gonna pick one at 9th, it better be a superstar 3 tech. I mean, because I think there's such a separation between the truly good deep 3 techs and the guys that are kind of in the middle. Like the truly good 3 techs are the guys that really impact the game, but there's only like 3 to 4 of those guys in the league, and will you be able to get one of those guys at 9th? I don't know if that guy is in this draft class, so maybe if you're really set on it, trading down, but I just don't think that if you're going to pick 9th, I don't think there's a defensive tackle worthy of a top 10 pick in this year's class.
Okay, so if you trade down, say in the teens around the 15 or 16 and get more picks in return, so that could be seen as a sweet spot for Murphy. And then I forgot to mention this player's name, Jazir Newton out of Illinois. Either one would do for you, right?
Yeah, and the Bears currently do not have a second round pick this year.
Right.
Okay. Yeah,
that was giving up for Montez Sweat. Sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say I really like Brendan Fisk from Florida State, but he would be more in that late first round range. But to me, I think he's a guy that doesn't get talked about enough. I really like his game.
So the other question that's been thrown around amongst the Bears fans is certainly the question of the left tackle. Obviously, this is a very good offensive tackle draft. Joe Alt, Olufashinu, Troy Fautanu, and then Guyton from Tyler Guyton from Oklahoma. Those are the top names that are being mentioned around right now. When you look at the tape on the Bears, or you have seen in the past, Braxton Jones, obviously 5th round pick, he certainly has made himself into a very decent player. Maybe not an all pro, but he's a capable to decent left tackle. I wouldn't be shocked if Poles puts left tackle at a higher on his priority list, since if you're going to protect Caleb Williams, you might as well make sure that he is healthy and being able to stand upright. Joe Alt or Olufashinu, if they're somehow at 9, do you think that Bears would go and get a left tackle, or do you think that's a bit of a reach for them?
I think again, I just think if one of those big 3 receivers is at that spot, it's hard to go for a tackle, especially when you already have a pretty decent tackle. And I love Joe Alt. I think he's just a freak of nature, and but I just think you already have a pretty decent tackle. You went tackle last year. If you have one of these generational wide receiver prospects at that spot, it'd be hard to pass up.
So, with Caleb Williams expected to be joining the Bears, certainly a lot of people kind of agree that this is the best, setup for a first overall quarterback in any year, and that comes with the question of what's the realistic expectation for Caleb Williams in 2024. Ted, the Bears quarterback history. It's always every year. We still see the names of Sid Luckman pop up on the TV screen every once in a while. But how would you, what is your realistic expectation for Caleb Williams in 2024 in terms of, what do you need to see from him, or even the numbers in terms of yardage and touchdowns and stuff?
Yeah, for me, I think the main thing with him is I don't want to see him take a ton of sacks. I don't think he'll throw a lot of interceptions. I just don't want to see him take a lot of sacks. I want to see him get rid of the ball on time. Obviously, he's gonna have plays where he's gonna try to extend and that sort of deal. But I just want to see him. And I think a lot of Bear fans would agree with me after watching Justin Fields for a long time that you want to see him avoid sacks. So the main thing for me is just keep that sack number low. I think if you pass for over 20 touchdowns and under 10 interceptions, that's a win, especially with this group. I don't want to set expectations too high, but I feel like that's a pretty good season. You go for 22 touchdowns, maybe 8 interceptions, and just keep the sack number low.
So, after Caleb Williams, certainly there are plenty of other quarterbacks that are expected to be taken high. in the first or even the second round. But let's kind of play, the GM right now with Caleb Williams going number one, number two Washington. We've been hearing a lot of rumors that Jaden Daniels of LSU is already linked there. But there are some reports that Jaden wants to play in New England and so forth. Which team do you think is a better fit for, Daniels?
I think the Commanders are probably a better fit for him just because, we've seen Cliff Kingsbury, utilize a quarterback or dual threat quarterback. And a lot of his offense is predicated towards quarterbacks that can run with the option game and scramble. So to me, he fits that mold a little bit more. I think New England will be, if you think they're going to run an offense similar to what they've ran all these years, then they're looking for a guy who will get through his reads and throw on time a little bit more than Jaden.
Mm-hmm. And then the other quarterback, the other two, of course, are somewhat very polarizing. Drake May out of North Carolina. I know that a lot of Bears fans have had nightmares of him being drafted by the Bears first overall or whatever because of the school and the number he wore. Kind of reminiscent of Mitchell Trubisky, which obviously makes no sense. And then the other one, of course, J.J. McCarthy out of Michigan. Drake May or J.J. McCarthy, which one is a better prospect in your opinion?
It's Drake May. It's not even close. I think Drake May is closer to Caleb Williams than, he could challenge Caleb Williams more than he is towards Jaden Daniels. I think Jaden Daniels is the clear quarterback 3, then McCarthy is quarterback 4. I just think Drake May is he has all the tools you want. He is still 21 years old. He does have some issues, but I think those are all correctable issues. And to me, Drake May is much better than McCarthy as a prospect.
Mm-hmm. Do you get the hype that McCarthy is getting, or is it just basically overblown because he played for Michigan last year?
No, I understand hype. I mean, when you look at the tape, he has all the traits that you look for in this, in a modern quarterback. But you just don't see it enough. I mean, he just, wasn't the catalyst for that offense.
Sure.
The tools are there. But there's just not enough of it on film for me to feel comfortable with giving him a first round grade. But to me, he has a second round grade. But obviously, if you have a high second round grade and the league is so quarterback thirsty, you're going to get pushed up. So of course he's going to get pushed up and be a top 5 pick. But to me, he's more of a late first, second round grade type of prospect.
So New England, presumably Washington takes Daniels at 2, New England at 3. They could take a quarterback, or they're obviously right now with the way the roster has been constructed toward the end of Belichick's time in New England, they need a lot more help than the quarterback. Minnesota has long been rumored to be interested in moving up. The Raiders, the team that you're very familiar with, they're looking to move up and get Daniels because Antonio Pierce really, really loves Daniels from when he was originally at Arizona State before transferring to LSU and becoming a Heisman winner. How do you see that scenario playing out? Do you think Minnesota would move up to get Drake May or J.J. McCarthy, either one of them? Or do you feel like Minnesota has to really, really pony up, and they're not exactly known as a team that, takes a lot of chance or, risks since they drafted Randy Moss almost, over 25 years ago. But do you think it's time for Minnesota to make, somewhat of a risky decision before teams like Raiders or even the Broncos move up to get either May or J.J. McCarthy?
At this point, I'd be surprised if they didn't move up. I think with all the chatter and them acquiring that extra first round pick, I think it's highly likely that they'll move up for either McCarthy or May.
Mm-hmm. And the other quarterbacks, maybe a little bit down the totem pole, Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr., both are standouts at Pac-12 last year. You saw probably more of them up close because of your location, Ted. How hard do you think they're going? Is a first-round pick very, very high for either one of them, or do you feel like it's kind of their hype is overblown, either one of them?
I think I could see Michael Penix going in the first round. I think he's reportedly teams aren't concerned with his medical, which was a big deal. And I think he's probably been phenomenal in interviews. So I could see him getting drafted in the first round. I don't know how high. Maybe late in the first round. I know Daniel Jeremiah mocked him 13th to the Raiders, which is a possibility too. It's tough for me to see Bo Nix get drafted in the first round. I think he's more of a second round quarterback. But I think there's a good chance Penix gets in the first round. I would put it around maybe 50-50.
I see. Looking at the other draft questions, certainly, excuse me, the Giants at number 6, they are also in the market for a quarterback. Daniel Jones's contract, at least after next year, seems more manageable. Do you at least get a receiver for the G-Man and give Jones one more shot, or if you're Brian Dable and Joe Shane, not having a quarterback and then getting canned after next year does not probably sit well with neither one of them. What would you do if you're New York Giants?
Sorry, can you repeat the question one more time?
I apologize. Long story short, what should the Giants do at number 6? Do they take a quarterback, or do they get a stud receiver to at least help out Daniel Jones next year?
I would say probably go with receiver because I assume it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 quarterbacks at the top of the draft, and I don't know if there's a guy that you want to draft at number 6 left. So I would say probably go to get a receiver, help out Daniel Jones, who is getting paid a lot of money. So you got to help out your investment.
And Tennessee, I believe, is picking one spot ahead of the New York Giants. They have to get a tackle at least, to help Will Levis get through the season, or even whoever the quarterback is in 2025, right?
Yeah, and it's a strong tackle class at the top, and I think they'll be able to get a quality prospect.
Which prospect are you high, in the first round that nobody is seem to be talking about that could maybe surprise people on draft night 2 weeks from tonight, regardless of the position?
I don't know. I feel like this draft, more than any other draft, has been so
top heavy.
Top heavy, and the coverage in this draft just seems like we've talked about all these guys ad nauseum. So it's hard for me to imagine a guy that hasn't been talked about much. I mean, I really like the 2 Texas receivers, Adonai Mitchell and Xavier Worthy. I think one of those guys are going in the first round. I've heard some suspect that Worthy might kind of pop in that conversation. Hard for me to see a receiver that small getting up there, but it's possible.
Now, when you talk about players same position from same schools, sometimes the production it gets over matched. For example, Neighbors and Thomas Jr. from LSU, Neighbors obviously was the guy getting a lot of touches. With Texas, A.D. Mitchell and then Xavier Worthy. A.D. Mitchell was obviously the guy that was getting a lot of, yards and versus Xavier Worthy. Do you kind of worry about the same players, same position from same schools, and one gets, more yards versus the production, or those things doesn't really affect the players, uh, you know, stock and how they're being perceived by the NFL draft circle?
I think no, I'm not. I'm not too worried about that. I think we've seen if you're a good player, you're a good player. I don't know if having a very good teammate detracts from that. I mean, we've seen Alabama have strong receivers. We've seen LSU have Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. So to me, that doesn't really enter the conversation in my mind that much.
Um, Out of the receivers, this is a very deep class. A.D. Mitchell, Thomas Jr., Lad McConkey, Ricky Pearsall, just to name a few. Um, how many receivers do you see maybe going in the top 2 rounds? Maybe like 7 or 8. I'm sure I'm leaving out a couple of guys like Troy Franklin of Oregon and Xavier Legette from South Carolina. They could certainly go within the top 64. How many receivers do you think could go in the top 2 rounds?
I mean, I think you could see there's probably gonna be 5 in the first round.
Wow.
I think
Okay.
that's good. I think there's a good chance there's gonna be 5 in the first round. You have the big three.
Yeah.
Then you have Brian Thomas Jr., who I think is going to be a first round pick. A.D. Mitchell is likely going to be a first round pick, so that's 5 right there. And
Mhm.
then in the second round, you have Worthy, you have Leggett, and yeah, I mean, I would probably, yeah, I think eight is a good number, maybe even 9.
Wow. Okay. Who do you like better, Lad McConkey or Ricky Pearsall?
I like McConkey. I mean, to me, McConkey is a guy that might get pushed up into the first round in any other draft, but since this draft is so strong, he's probably going to
Mhm.
be a second round pick. But I like McConkey a lot, and then he came out and ran a 4.3 at the combine, so just really impressive route runner with that type of athleticism. It's pretty impressive.
Well, Ted, thank you very much for joining me tonight. And before I let you go, I have one quick question and maybe some sort of advice. Obviously, there aren't many Asian Americans, in sports media. Obviously, Mina Kimes, as Pablo Torres of the world have certainly made their presence known. You are, one of the very few people that I think, a lot of people should start following and when it comes to breaking down tapes and everything. I'm kind of curious how you got your start in this industry, and what kind of advice do you have for people, regardless of whether you're Asian American or, certainly minority, people wanting to break into the industry, and your background and your story of having to overcome those stigmas and perceptions and everything.
Yeah, when I first started writing, I don't think I really thought I was going to do it as a career. I started just blogging about the Raiders because some friends thought it would be a good idea to just get some of my thoughts out there. And
Mhm.
I was a football coach. I coached high school ball for a long
Oh,
time, and I used some of my football knowledge and the way that I saw the game to break down the Raiders. And
yeah.
at that time, there was not a lot of people doing that. I don't think film breakdown wasn't a huge part of the national conversation. Now it's become that, and luckily, I came at a time where it was growing, and maybe I had a part in growing that type of analysis. But I think just if I were to give advice, I think just you have to try to say something different. And I think there's so many people just repeating the same things over and over again, that I think just trying to find your voice and trying to find something unique to say, is the big challenge in this industry. And I would say just never stop learning. I think I came in with a solid knowledge base, and but there's always so much to learn. And I still don't think I'm doing a good enough job of trying to learn as much as I can, and that's one of the challenges that I have. I give myself every off season that I'm going to try to, either maybe buy a course, which you get on like CoachTube, talk to some coaches, go to clinics, and really try to learn more about the game. So, for me, I think with the way I break down film and my type of content, I think that's probably the best advice that I can give, is just to always try to keep learning and try to say something unique.
I've been kind of more thinking about wanting to learn the game more. Obviously, I don't have the football coaching background, much less play the game like others do. You mentioned courses. Is there like specific courses that kind of help you gain, or at least help you enhance your knowledge?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many books out there for different levels of knowledge. So, the website I mentioned, CoachTube, they're clinics by coaches, and there's some NFL coaches that give out clinics, and they really break down aspects of the game. But I would say that's more advanced. Like, you have to have a pretty good base of knowledge to come in there and understand what they're saying. But if you're starting at beginner level, I would look for just books, and you can find a ton of books on Amazon that just breaks. You can learn the very fundamentals of the games. You can learn basic principles and concepts that you could build upon. So I think if you don't have that knowledge, even if you're not breaking down film and doing film breakdowns, I think just having that knowledge is useful.
And I apologize. One quick question. We know that the analytics has taken over sports, especially in baseball, which obviously draws a lot of rebuke from the old school people. How much does analytics do you take into when it comes to breaking down films and grading prospects, or making some scouting reports on the pros and amateurs?
I think people mistaken me for an analytics guy because I'm Asian, but
No. I'm so sorry about that.
No. I'm not saying you. I'm not saying you at
the
all.
perception that all
This is
of
a
us,
very
you
valid
and I,
question.
have to overcome, unfortunately,
Yeah.
because of our skin color. So
Yeah, no, it's not. I'm not saying that you are, but
No.
I'm a film first guy, but I love analytics at the same time. Like I'm learning more about analytics. I do use analytics heavily in my content too, but I'm a film first guy. I coach football, so I'm always going to turn to the film first. But analytics does save you time because there's some things that are just easily summarizable and I think there's some very good stats out there that you can use. But I think you match it up with the film, and then you come up with a conclusion with both. I think it's just irresponsible to come up with hard conclusions by just looking at analytics. So both are great tools, and you have to kind of learn how to mesh both together to come up with strong conclusions.
Well, Ted, once again, thank you very much for your time. I apologize for keeping you a little bit longer than you should. Obviously, you have to go and do some stuff yourself. Make sure to follow Ted on X at FB_film analysis, and also his fine works on The Athletic. Ted, thank you very much, and I hope to keep in touch with you as a fellow Asian. I respect your work, and I hope that you will continue to work hard and get the respect and the success you deserve. And I look forward to having you on again down the road. Thank you very much for your time tonight.
Thanks for having me on, and I'm glad we finally connected.
Thank you, sir. And hopefully you have a wonderful evening, and hope you will enjoy the draft in a couple of weeks from now. Thank you, Ted.
Same to you. Talk to you later.
All right, folks. Thank you very much for joining me tonight. Hope you enjoyed Ted Nguyen from The Athletic, very, very fine analyst, and hopefully you will follow him if you haven't already by now. But anyway, tomorrow night on the show, we will have Ben Koo, the owner and editor of The Awful Announcing, will be joining us tomorrow night, which is my co-host Ken Fang's boss. We'll be joining to talk about the both men and women's NCAA and other sports media related news. And then this Friday, Ken Fang and I will get together and discuss more of the NCAA tournament and other stuff that caught our attention. So thank you very much, everybody. And hopefully you will subscribe to our YouTube channel and also follow me on X, as you see there. And also Ken also on his X as well. Have a wonderful evening, and we look forward to having you on again tomorrow night with Ben Koo from Awful Announcing as our guest. Have a great night, everybody.